Down the field, Hollywood!
Let me think about that one.
77 yards! Whoa! Who is this kid?
Lester.
All right, guys, welcome. We are here with a guy that he's worn a lot of hats in my life. He's been a friend, he's been a motivator, he's been an encourager, he's been a guy that would listen. He produces, in my opinion, the best podcast in the world. And I'm thankful for him as a friend, and I'm even more thankful to be able to have him on our show, to be able to share his insight, his journey, and just everything about him that makes him who he is. Welcome to the show, Lewis freaking House. There are no rules in here, man. Lewis is like, wait a second, like how does this?
I like this. Actually.
How does this show work?
I put my feet up. I'm kind of relaxed.
Lewis, welcome, brother.
Good to see you, man.
I'm excited to have you here, man. What do you think about the War Machine?
I like
man?
it. You know, you should have like highlight video of your guest on this TV.
We're gonna use
like,
the TV.
Have the TV involved. We parked in the shade, and so I'm getting a little breeze, and I get to like put my legs up. So I kind of like this right now, actually.
Yeah, like if people don't know, like Lewis House is a tall drink of water. 6'4" at least, right?
That's it.
Yeah, he's 6'4", 225 pounds.
221.
221. He's getting tight.
Drop it down, weight down, baby.
But he's a big guy, but we got plenty of room in here for you to spread it out.
It's nice, man.
I'm excited to have you on here. I'm excited to talk about what you've got going on in your life right now, and then kind of reflecting back on like where you were years ago before everything clicked. Dude, let's start there. What are you doing right now?
Being a human.
A freaking good one, man.
Figuring it out.
Tell me like what the human does every day. Like what is your intention when you wake up today?
For me, my intention is to not regret anything and to give fully of my talents, my abilities, and continue to multiply them. I think that's the purpose I give for my life, is how can I make the maximum impact on the people around me and then multiply my talents to impact more people. I feel like that is a meaningful life for me. It wasn't always that way, but for me right now, it's like, if I can make someone smile, and if I can make someone feel better about themselves, if I can make someone or support in someone overcoming a challenge, it's a pretty good day, and I think it's a pretty good life. So I'm constantly working on myself and mastering my habits and thoughts and actions so that I can reach more people and impact the people that I come in contact with. I think I have down times and low moments as well, and frustrating times, and I think that's okay. I just try to get out of them as quickly as possible, because there's so much good that I want to impact. There's so much that I feel like I want to do, that sitting in my suffering or sitting in self-doubt or pity or something doesn't support a long-term vision. So I'm constantly just focused on how can I get better. Right now, creatively, I'm working on a talk show that's been a dream of mine for a long time. It's now been manifested and it's happening. So really the work now begins. People think like once something comes out, like you're done. And I've worked even harder in the last 2 weeks than the last year and a half getting it to come out. So for me, it's once I have a vision and a dream that comes full circle, then you've got to really make sure that it continues. And that's not just a one and done type of thing.
So talk about the project that you have on.
Yeah, it's called Inspiring Life. It's a talk show where we tackle different themes and topics, and we bring in different experts to cover how to overcome those challenges. We have one on forgiveness, we have one on happiness, we have one on money mindset, Me Too, Time's Up, and we're really tackling one topic at a time and giving people those tools to overcome those challenges in their life. So it's a very fun and creative process, because I feel like if I'm not challenging myself every year with something new, then I'm not growing. And over the last 5.5 years, I've challenged myself by launching a podcast, then I challenged myself by writing a book, then I challenged myself by launching a bigger conference, and then it's like, what's the next challenge every year? This year we did a documentary as well that hasn't come out yet, but it's like, I want to constantly challenge myself creatively, my health, my relationships, so that I can grow. And if I'm just doing the same thing and not innovating in that thing, then I get very bored and I feel like I'm wasting away time. So this was a dream to have the talk show, to be able to reach a broader audience and use a partner with a network that can reach that audience, as opposed to starting from something from scratch, which was the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I partnered with Facebook on it, because I wanted to have access to a network of 2 billion people
Mm-hmm.
and have the potential to reach those people if it spread. And I tell you what, man, it's a journey. It's a process. It's been very challenging.
Well, I've only watched 2 of the episodes. Only 2 have come out yet of Inspiring Life, and that's not like something that you film in your basement.
This is like a full-on.
It looked like because I've been in ESPN studios, I've been ABC, I've done Good Morning America, I've done a bunch of really big shows.
It's a full-on built set.
It
everything.
looks like the set looks like the same thing you would see at Dr. Oz.
Yeah, he's got a little bigger set than mine, but yeah.
But I'm talking about the
It's
quality.
produced.
It is not. You don't have people in there with an iPhone. I mean, that thing that's of the highest production quality. Maybe
Yeah.
not the biggest set, but of the highest production quality. You can tell that Facebook invested a lot of finances and
cheap.
sweat equity into your show, and it's not like Friday Facebook Live. This thing is.
No, this is a full-on production.
You've got writers and you've got
whole thing,
directors,
producers, everything.
It's crazy.
Showrunners, the whole thing. And so, which was amazing, because it realized that I was leveling up my abilities to impact more people.
Like the big league.
Exactly. It was kind of like, okay, how do we get from a podcaster to a whole nother level, right?
You went from an iPhone to like the highest production quality, working for
This is ITV.
the most aggressive expansion company on the planet right now.
Yeah.
It would either Facebook or
Instagram.
Amazon. Well,
Yeah.
they're owned by the same. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So it's just
Yeah.
like the most aggressive plays being made right now are being made by Amazon
Netflix.
and by Facebook.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some big players, and they asked you. It's not like you asked them. So it's just like for me to know you as long as I've known you.
Sure,
It's only been, what, 3 years?
I feel like it's been like 10, but yeah.
I know. It feels like it's because you and I have
is that what
so.
it was? I don't know.
No. Yeah, 2015.
Maybe
It's been 3 years.
4 years, maybe 3? That's it?
3 years.
God. We've had
I
so
know.
many moments together that seems like we've been hanging out a lot longer.
Right. And I think there's so many commonalities
We
that
went to
you
a-
and I
yeah.
share. We're Midwest guys. We played.
Sports,
Did you play
football.
4 in high school?
We played 5 sports.
Yeah. So I played
yeah.
4. He played 5. You went to college and played
Yeah.
football and track or basketball.
And basketball.
And basketball.
3 in college.
Yeah, so you played 3 in college. I played 2 in college, and then I was fortunate enough to have my pro career, and then you went from there to the Arena League, sustained an injury, and then your story from like your mom's couch actually started like right then. So if you guys don't know like Lewis's story, I mean, we're going to touch on a lot of those bits and pieces, but honestly, I just want to encourage people to go over, and if they're not already watching your show, like get to know you there.
Yeah, check it out.
Because I feel like there's so much value in so many things that you're doing right now that I almost don't want to backtrack too much, because I want to learn, and I also think so many people that have doubted themselves, and your redemption story, like I want to go back to like middle school, elementary school, because you and I grew up like so similar. Midwest guys,
Yeah.
played a bunch of sports, struggled in school, like hated school. People told us that we had learning disabilities. You had, a lot of things that happened to you as a child that I also share. So it's just like there's so much value that you're giving over on your podcast, but really, I don't want to repeat any of the same stuff that you're sharing there, because I want people to know what you're doing right now, like
Right.
not what you did on a podcast that you recorded a month ago, because
Right.
your life is changing that quickly.
It's crazy, man. So much new things that are happening every single day. And I'm constantly, we're here sitting outside my entertainment lawyer's house, actually, Todd Weinstein. And I'm constantly talking with him and other people on my team about like, how can we innovate and constantly push the boundaries in not even just in our industry or in the business, but also just in the world. Like, what does the world need, or what does my space need right now? What is the people that I interact with the most? What are they struggling with? What's the big challenge? And how can we deliver a piece of art through the form of audio, video, book? How do we create an experiential event? How do we create something that gives people what they need to move forward, to move out of it? And that's what gets me going, is seeing, we created this TV show on Facebook, a new piece of art. For me, it's art. It's an experience. Yes, it's a product. Yes, it's a business. Yes, Facebook needs to make money, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of people involved. But I look at it as a piece of art that helps someone look at their life in a certain way, reflect on if it's working or not for them. And if not, did that piece of art give them the tools, the inspiration, the story to move forward in a certain way? That's how I look at everything that I do. And so I'm just constantly thinking that. I'm already thinking about my next book. I'm already thinking about the next season of the TV show when it gets picked up. Like, what are we going to do next? How can we make it better? What can we dive into?
Do you ever struggle with celebrating and actually like taking a moment to take a breath and be like, holy crap, like the most aggressive company on the planet is pursuing me? Like, do you feel like you take enough time to drink that in, or is it always the next? What's the next?
I used to,
because I struggled with the next.
Yeah, I used to not be able to celebrate too much until in the last 4 or 5 years I started to celebrate more. But it's like I don't drink alcohol, or like celebrating for me is like,
it doesn't have to be a party. It could be like just you're sitting in your car driving to your next appointment and thinking to yourself.
I appreciate it, but even like with the show launching, there hasn't been a moment to really celebrate, because it came out 2 weeks ago, and the day came out, it was like the most stressful day because I was in promotion mode constantly. So it wasn't like my show's out, let's celebrate. No, because now I have to show up and deliver even more, even harder than how I actually did it before. So for the last 2 weeks, I've just been nonstop.
So self-imposed pressure, though. Like, Facebook wasn't pressing you to promote.
I want to get picked up again.
They were expecting it.
I
but
will
they're
have
not
a
putting
certain
pressure
demand.
on
I have
you.
a certain expectation for the results I want to get, and it's not just gonna happen just because I created a. When you write a book and it's published, doesn't mean someone's gonna buy it.
Right.
You've got to be putting it out in front of people constantly if you want them to buy it. It's got to be a great product first, so that people are willing to watch past the first few minutes, or read past the first few chapters, or listen past the first 10 minutes of a podcast. It's got to be a great product. But if no one's aware of it, and typically people won't, I'm still trying to get more people to listen to my podcast. I've got millions of followers, and not even half of them have listened to it yet. And it's free. There's nothing to sell, right? It's just great content, and all you need to do is get them to go to the app and download and press record or press play.
Right.
That is hard to do in the world of attention and content everywhere. And these people follow me, and they like and comment on my photos on Instagram, but how come they're not all listening?
How come they're not taking that
Yeah,
second
it's
and
like,
third step?
so it's like a constant, you got to constantly show up with, as an interruption of the thing that people are missing. And that's what I think about myself. It's like, how do I show up with a sense of urgency, love, joy, like compassion, so that someone sees it and they go, oh, let me learn more about how I can get more of what Lewis is bringing to the world. I feel like I'm down right now. Lewis seems positive. How do I get that? Let me go check it out. I need more confidence. Lewis seems confident. How do I get that? How do I get rid of this depression? Well, I'm just trying to be the thing, the example for people to then go take action and see more things.
Do you ever feel pressure, like the pressure of?
I have in the past, but
how do you deal with that?
Well, I think it's hard to not feel pressure if you're not making a lot of money, if you're struggling at a job you don't like, things like that. You don't have many options. I think it's hard.
But do you feel the pressure to be someone?
Right now, not really. I feel like sometimes I feel like I need to do a lot of things to get more well known, so that my message can be seen by more people. So I'm constantly saying yes to a lot of things that maybe I'd rather not do, but I might meet the person who would have me on here that could promote this, that could be the intro, that could be whatever the next step.
Fear of missing out? And not missing out on like an experience, but missing out on an opportunity or a door possibly opening.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a fear. I just feel like I don't want to live in regret of like, oh, I wish I would have went to that thing because I could have met this person.
Maybe it could be the fear of regret. You know what I mean? Because the only reason I'm doing that, I feel like I'm projecting what I experience a lot of time in
I do have the
in
fear of
people
regret. I don't want
speak
to regret something, so that's
Right.
why
I have the
to
fear of missing out. You know, like if you call me and you're like, hey man, we're rounding up some buddies and we're going to go to Lancaster State Prison and we're going to spend 5 hours with death row inmates. That doesn't sound like a fun time. But because you were involved when you asked me to do that, I knew that we would be able to create a life experience from it. Would it be fun? Who knows? But I know when I'm aligned with you, when we go to do anything, we could be
not
on
ask
a walk.
You to do something
you know what I mean?
I know it's going to be cool,
Right.
So we went to the White House. That was cool.
Yeah. We really, I'm thinking about it right now.
We kind of Summit Series, White House,
We went to the White House together. The experience we had at the White House. So when we went to the White House, I actually got invited because of you. Because it was funny when you would visit New York. This is like 3 years ago when we first got to know each other.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing my best. I felt like I was like, well, Lewis, come over here because I know this person and I can get you on that show. I kind of I show ponied myself. Like, I got it like that here. And like, I rolled things out for you. And it's just been funny as your brand has grown and your success has grown and the size of your show has grown. It's funny because, and I'm like, it's not like I'm like bummed about it. I'm stoked about it and I'm like really proud. Like now when we go places, and it depends on people are more excited to meet you than they are to meet me. You know what I mean? And it's not because I'm not playing football anymore. It's just, and it's not because you're a different person. It's just other people are being able to have so much more access to you that I feel like they're able to fall in love with the person that you are, like the people that are around you. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And so when we go places, because people feel like they know you so well, they are more excited to like take a picture with you than they are to take a picture with me. And I'm like, I'm stoked about it because I'm like, dude, look at what not what you're becoming, because I always thought that you were that. Is like, look what people are realizing.
Right, recognizing. It's
you know
funny, there was
I
a
mean?
video.
Not recognizing, they're realizing it, because it's like the way that you just act is real.
Yeah.
So
it's
like
funny,
they're not recognizing it.
I was watching this YouTube video of Casey Neistat a couple weeks ago, and Will Smith was in the video, like hanging out with him for the day. And they walked out of Casey's studio in New York City, and there's like a bunch of like kids waiting out the door, right? And Will Smith Casey's filming. Will Smith is right in front of him walking through like a sea of kids. None of the kids look at Will Smith, and they all come up to Casey and they're like, Casey. And the guy, he's like, Will Smith is right there. You should be taking a photo with him, not me. They're like, no, we just want to hang out with you, because they've connected with
through YouTube,
his message and through his content and stuff. So
initially that used to make me mad though, when YouTube got super popular, because I mean, not necessarily just for me, but I would, I'm friends with, all these, super popular football players, and we'll go to certain places. And I used to get mad that my son would get more excited when he would see like a YouTube star than if, I'm giving him the opportunity to like have lunch with me and like Drew Brees.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, like, Odell, like he's, I don't want to say over Odell, but he's been around Odell so much that he doesn't feel like Odell is a super big deal because he spent so much time with him, but like Drew Brees, like somebody that he doesn't spend that much time with, which is a legendary football player, a great friend, a good person. Like, why don't you get that excited? This guy's awesome, but it's because he doesn't have a connection with Drew Brees. And so the point of, sharing all these stories is like, I am very, very excited for how much technology has been able to like bridge the gap in between people in general, because like, when was the last time you had a phone call from me?
A couple days ago.
No, it was a FaceTime.
Well, yeah, it was like FaceTime. Yeah.
Have you ever gotten just a phone call from me?
No, we FaceTime a lot.
All we do is FaceTime, and like at first you probably thought that was like kind of weird.
No, because I do the same thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know
that.
Yeah.
So like, people think that that's weird, but it's like, I want to talk to people. I don't want a text message.
Sure.
I want to like be able to hear your tonality and your voice, because like maybe that person's going through something. If they text message me, it's up for interpretation. You know what I mean? Like, how am I ever going to see any of my friends that are like hurting? Like I said it earlier today, like, hey, you all right, man? You feel like, You know, you're like, no, man, I'm doing great, man. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about like, and you were talking about not what's stressing you, but what is on your mind.
What's on the mind? Yeah.
I could tell something was on your mind.
I just ran out of the interview and just
Yeah, you were thinking like, how did it go?
Yeah.
And so I asked Lewis, I'm like, how are you doing? And I'm like, you seem like, you know, he's like, no. And then you walked me through what's happening. But I wouldn't have the ability or the confidence to know like something's on your mind if when we speak, it's on a phone or it's via text.
Sure.
Because I feel like even though you and I have lived 3,000 miles apart for a really long time, we FaceTime and it was like, I could still feel you.
Sure,
you know what I
course.
mean? I could see where you're at and I could feel that. And it just makes, it's a deeper connection, and technology
Absolutely.
is providing that, but it's also providing you the opportunity to let people realize how real you are.
Right.
And that's why I'm like super proud when I go somewhere with you. Typically I'm used to people coming up to me,
Right.
you know, and now they're coming up to you and they don't notice me or they're not as excited. And I'm actually like really happy about that, because that is reminding me that society still has heroes that are like good people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you don't have to be a professional athlete. You don't have to, you know, do something outlandish and create a brand. You know what I mean? Like you can still create a really powerful brand and get people really excited without being a movie star like Will Smith. Like
Musician or
you're a
something,
good person and you're inspiring people, and people are realizing how authentic that is now, because the veil is getting further and further back because of technology.
That's right. That's right.
How have you been able to like leverage that kind of addition as it evolved into letting people like see more of like who and what you are? Because you don't say yes to everything.
No,
You know what I mean?
I say no to a lot more things now, but
So you don't jump at every opportunity. So that's, I'm curious.
it's funny.
as
A few
to-
months ago, I did a couple-day session with a friend of mine who gave me a lot of clarity, and he said, create a yes/no list in your life and in your business.
Okay.
So for where I'm at and where I want to be in my business, he was like, create a yes/no list so that it's clear what you will do and what you won't do. You're creating clear boundaries. He's like, I was like, okay, yes, I will speak for 50 grand and nothing less. So it's like, okay, this is the marker. So as opposed to be like letting someone negotiate with me, okay, 30, 40, like, no, it's 50, or I don't need your money and I don't need to speak. It just becomes clear.
Right.
Unless I want to, because it's like a friend or it's something else where it's like Obama's going to be there or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, when I have my event, you're going to come speak for free.
Yeah, of course, yeah, of course. But I mean, it's like I get asked all the time,
Right.
and I'd be like, well, there's like, this is 20 grand here and 30 grand there, but it's like, no, yes, no. What do you want to do that's going to help you move your mission forward? And saying yes to all these other things, even if
Making
you're
30
leaving,
grand for 2 hours.
but even if you
think about it,
and that's the thing, leaving money on the table seems hard, but how much money could you be making, or how much of a greater impact if you use those 2 days of prep and travel to
Or-
do something else?
How much happier could you be?
Yeah, without being
'Cause
stressed and overwhelmed.
Dude, you watched me 2 years ago, you know, when I was just starting out as an entrepreneur. Can we agree that nobody on worked harder than I did?
You work
like
hard.
longer.
You
I
work
mean,
hard.
I
You don't sleep.
freaking
You don't
yeah,
sleep.
like you would call me any time of day and like you knew I was going to answer the phone.
Yeah,
It didn't matter
you
what
didn't
coast
sleep.
I was on. And I became very, very successful very, very quickly, but it came at the cost of, you know, of negatively affecting my relationship with my wife and my kids. And I
Sure.
look back at it and, you know, I was still a good dad. I was still technically a good husband.
Sure.
You know, when you compare like this husband to that husband, but at the end of the day, like I'm not comparing myself to other people to figure out like whether or not I'm doing a good job, because I know what I'm capable of. You know, and I'm getting to the point as I grow older that I have more self-awareness, and I can kind of keep it real with myself with a lot more confidence and not beat myself up when I'm also being real with myself.
Sure, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always wondered how you navigated that, because the bigger your brand grows and the more products that you release and the bigger
I think yes, no's are really important. And so it just got very clear on like all the things I would say yes to and what would it take for me to say yes. So
how do you
yes
prioritize
to,
for friends though? That's the hard part for me. You
well,
know
I've got
what I mean?
I've got a lot of friends, and I think it's just who are my close friends that I'm willing to say yes to.
Would you
almost
say you
all the
have
time.
like, it sounds kind of generic and I've never thought about it before right now, but would you say you kind of have like tiers of friends?
Absolutely, I think we all do. Circles, you know, it's like your family is closest to you, right?
Right.
And then you have probably 3 to 5 really, really, really close, like people
That
that
you're
you
going to
talk
drop
to.
everything for.
Yeah, and then you have 10 to 20 people that are like, man, these are close friends.
You're saying
But-
10 to 20, and I'm thinking to myself,
You know,
I'm
or
like,
whatever.
You know what I
It's
mean?
like
I'm like,
maybe
right. I
it's
know it's
5
different
to
number for
10 or
different
whatever,
people. I'm
you know,
like, I
it's
wonder who my 20 are or my 10.
right? Or who's your 5? You know, who are the 5 that you spend the most time with that you're like, these are the 5 people that I respect and I'm closest with the most, that I talk to on a weekly basis or like on a consistent basis, that I feel like I can call and say anything to, and I'm not going to get judged and things like that. And you know, I probably only have 5 to 10 people. I take it back. I'm pretty open with everyone, but I have like 5 to 10 people that I talk to on a daily, consistent, or weekly basis, who, you know,
Do they work for you? Do you count that?
I mean,
Let's say the people that
yeah.
don't work with you, because I know you're
Yeah, people
super
don't
close with Caesar, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's
people that don't work with you as well. I mean, in a lot of ways, I have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of friends. You know, it's like I've got so many people that I know.
Yeah, I know. I've been to
But
your
they're
event, dude.
but they're like you know, I want to drop and do anything for everyone. You just don't have the time to do it. So
Right.
you have to pick and choose timing, and sometimes a season of life, there are people that I'm closer with and then less close with. I had a guy email me yesterday who I went to, we were camp counselors at 17 years old, you know, like almost 18 years ago or something. And he emailed me, and I hadn't talked to this guy in years. He was like, hey man, I listened to one of your podcasts, and I just want to say it really resonated with me. I'm overcoming some addictions, and I haven't, you know, drank in a few years, and it just keeps me going and this and that. And I just wanted to let you know, I know we haven't talked in a while.
How special is that?
Yeah, it's powerful. And this is a guy we spent like intimate, a couple weeks of like camp counseling together. I haven't talked to him in years, but it's like, I feel like I could talk to him in a moment and be like, catch right back up. So it all depends, you know, people come and go. I think people have more of a weighted closeness to me at certain seasons of life. But there's also like a core group of people that I'm talking to all the time that, you know, I'm very close with. So I manage relationships in an interesting way, probably a lot like you do, where I'm constantly texting, constantly video messaging, constantly FaceTiming
I only
people.
do what I do for you for maybe like
A few people.
6 people.
Yeah. So other people look at my phone and they're like, how are you having 30 conversations in a day on just text, and then 100 via messenger on like social media, and then and how do you remember all these people and track it all? It's just kind of like how my brain works, I guess. Just staying in relationships. So I don't have like a spreadsheet of the friends that I have and like when did I reach out to them last. It's just
Every once in a while, you have to ask me, like, what was your third daughter's name? I get it, dude. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, sometimes it's hard to keep the
Well-
architecture of the details of their life exactly the same. But the important thing is that you're constantly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being a gardener.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like when you're a gardener, like you plant the seed, and some seeds
Exactly.
will grow, and they will, you know, some of them will turn into a beautiful flower that's nice to look at. Some of them will bear fruit. You know what I mean? They all require a different type of nurturing.
That's it.
You know, like I know that I don't need to like patty cake you. Like if there's something I'm noticing that you're doing that I feel like you could do better, I would just say it to you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you won't take offense to that, because I think we're close enough to where you know I'm going to come from a place of love.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. You're like, hey, I noticed this. Like, you know, well, you should probably position this like that. Or, hey, you know, I've seen you've been on the road for like a month, dude. What's your marriage like? You know, those aren't
Right,
questions you've
right,
asked me,
right,
but
right.
you know, like it's a relationship that actually cares about the person, so they're going to ask the hard questions, but also just to check in to say hi. You know,
That's it.
how much of, if you had to put a percentage, how much of your ability to create and nurture and garden relationships, how much of your success percentage-wise is due to that skill set alone, if we want to call it a skill set or a gift?
$60, 70%.
I was going to say 60% for myself.
67%. I would say you've got to, you know, I've had to have the goods to be able to, you know, have those opportunities. You got to have the goods, the skills, the qualities, the results. You got to be able to deliver. Just because I have a good network doesn't mean people want to put me in front of something, or doesn't mean they want to give me a TV show, or give this, or put me on the Rich Eisen show. Or whatever.
I mean, but I'm not even talking about like how many friends that you have.
No,
I'm
just
talking
saying,
about like just relationships, like the relationship that you have with your dad, because I know that's a very unique one. The relationship that you have.
Well, everything I've learned has come from relationships.
That's what I mean.
So everything I've learned has come from relationships, but every opportunity comes from a relationship too. At least an opening of a door. Now the rest of it is me having to develop the skills through hard work and consistency to have certain skills that I can deliver once the door is open. But the relationships are the things that teach you, the things that create opportunities, things that mold you, that support you. So for me, relationships is a big part of it. And without that, having proximity to those opportunities is through other people. Being in proximity to great coaches at a young age gives you the opportunity to become a better player, which allows you to make college and pros in your sport. But you got to have proximity, and that takes relationships. Having proximity to a billionaire is going to help you open up doors and think about things differently for your business than someone who's never made any money. If you grow up with someone who doesn't have any money, you're in proximity with the knowledge and the experience that they have. Same thing with everything. The more you spend around people who are spiritual and consciously minded, that proximity is going to rub off on you into having more spirituality in your life. So I'm always seeking proximity with people that I'm really inspired by. And that takes first getting in front of them, but you've got to have a reputation that those individuals want to be around. And reputation is all about creating results and how you show up and what other people say about you. So if your reputation is bad, then people don't want to hang out with you. We were having a discussion earlier today, I won't say the names. We were chatting about a few different individuals that we just felt like don't make us feel good. And that reputation spreads in a negative way. And someone who does make you feel good also spreads in a different way.
Right.
And your reputation is extremely important. And I think, again, you create that through how you show up, the results you get, how you make people feel. You show up in a certain way, very powerful, very fit, healthy, it's credible. It's like, this guy knows how to work hard by the way you look. You're also a good person, you treat people well, and people care, and they say nice things about you. So you have a great reputation. Plus you have results. You're Super Bowl champion, et cetera, et cetera. You transition into business. It's like, you know how to create results. Those three things right there afford you the opportunity to have proximity with influential and inspiring people.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
And you also have to be really careful too. Not that you would hinge this, but I'm just talking about like people listening in general. Is I think it's important to give everybody a chance, but keep in mind their reputation.
Yes.
And don't get the reputation just from one person.
Right. Talk to a few people.
Right.
I know you do that with me on some people. Like, hey, what do you think about this guy? What were you just asking about Joel
You've touched
Marion
base
this
with
morning?
me about
What do you think about this Joel Marion
Think about
guy?
having this person on, and then I'll be like, and I keep it real with you, because I want to protect your show and the integrity of your show, and I want to help you. So me kind of giving not the full and honest truth on somebody, good or bad,
right,
is doing them a disservice. And to me, it's like, it's not gossip, because it's a business decision, because there's a lot of people that are like lined up, like wanting to pay you to be on your show,
right,
because it's become that influential. But how did it get to that point? Is you protected. You've only had one person on the School of Greatness that I was like, why is he having that guy on there? And you don't have to speak about it, but when he had Ty Lopez on his show, I was like, Lewis, what are you doing? And then when I talked to you afterwards, you'd be like, you know what? He's interesting to me, and it ended up.
Oprah had Trump on.
Right.
Her show.
Right.
Why?
Right. He's interesting.
I think there's something to be learned from everyone.
Right.
Even if there's a lot of
And I'm not
controversy.
judging. I don't know Ty Lopez at all. I just know his reputation.
Absolutely. And I think that was a challenging, decision to make, actually, because so many people were like, why did you do this?
People love to
A lot of
hate
people
him.
were like, I'm unsubscribing, this and that, or whatever. But I also think, I look at the other side of the coin, so many people were like, man, I actually learned a lot. And I was surprised.
Because he is successful.
Yeah, there's something you can learn from people. You know, I'm not, it is what it is. But I mean, I'm always trying to find the lesson in these things. So, yeah.
We did the same thing on the way over here. Like, I just started following Joel Marion. And
you're like, what do you think about this guy? And I was like, he's awesome. And we called him right then, and you chatted with him.
And then you FaceTimed him. Like, that was a pretty cool, that was a pretty quick answer to somebody that I was very intrigued by.
Yeah, I want to FaceTime him right away.
Because there's a lot of times that you meet people too, especially through social media, that they are not who they say they are or who they portray to be. And it actually happens a whole lot more than when it doesn't happen. So when actually I do meet somebody that I love their content, or I love their mindset, or I just love something about them, and then I meet them, I've almost gotten to the point right now where I'm expecting them to be a complete fraud and phony, so I'm not disappointed.
Sure.
But I'm getting a little bit better at sifting through the Instagram BS of like, yeah, that's not your car, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
That's not your home.
But Joel, he's done it.
Right.
That's all it is.
And it's not even like I needed to know if his results were real, but it's just the way he positions himself
guy.
and the way he kind of, he mentions God, and, he mentions, success, but also blessing others and impact, and a lot of the same words that I find myself using, and I find, they're really kind of commonality. I don't want to say buzzwords, but, like most people don't talk about like their intention. And I feel like I've been speaking about that a lot because I'm like in the season of my life of like growth and just kind of like on a vision quest for purpose and just wondering whether or not I'm doing the right thing. And like, I know there's not a right or wrong thing, but I know like there is a destiny for me. And I just want to make sure that I'm not doing something to make myself like more famous. I'm doing something that's like truly going to leave like an everlasting impact. And I know it's not on Snapchat that disappears in 24 hours or Instagram videos that gets buried. Like, I think there's something really big out there for me, and that's why I'm excited to do this podcast. And
Yeah, man.
I've called you and asked a lot of questions, just not to learn how to do it right or wrong, but to make sure that it's received the way that I want it to be received, because I really just want to have people on this show that, if they're high achievers and they've done like incredible things, cool, let's talk about that. But let's talk about like what has made you not successful but prosperous, where everything that you touch turns into something greater than what it was. I want to talk to like creators, either wealth creators or, digital creators, but I want to talk to people that can, because of their passion, turn that into not necessarily a product, but something tangible, So I'm super excited to see you be rewarded for your authenticity as time goes by and you continue to climb up. It's been freaking fun to watch, man.
Thanks, man.
It's been fun to watch.
Life was good.
So what happens, and because I know the answer that you're going to give me because we've talked about this so much, but I'm going to ask you a more difficult question. But not even more difficult, just different. In 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, all right, let's do it easier. 6 months, a year, and 5 years.
What happens?
What are quantifiable things that are going, or goals that you have in your life that will come to fruition?
I can have goals that I want, but also things change so much. I wanted to be in the NFL, and
don't give me this Dalai Lama answer,
here's the
man.
thing.
I want to know like where you're at, what you're doing.
Okay. I mean, if
Because
everything
I already
goes-
know why you're doing it, man. I know your heart. I want to know what you're doing, what you're creating, where you
I
are.
want to create more meaningful, powerful.
Is this 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years?
6 months. I want to have my talk show picked up and out again in 6 months with the next season by then, if not sooner.
Right.
Where we're doing multiple, 10, 20, 30 more episodes in the next couple of seasons in the next 6 months. That would be step one.
Okay.
And build a thriving show that reaches millions and millions of people every single week.
You've
on
already
Facebook.
built that, though. What's the quantifiable goal in 12 months?
It's getting it again.
Like, do you have your own studio? Do you
I want to
your
have
own...
I want to have my own network where I.
That's where we want to go,
Yes,
Lewis.
I wanna
Good.
have- what
Say
about-
it. Speak it into existence.
But the show has got to build a foundation first. My own show has to build a foundation where I think it's got to do 50 to 100 shows.
But the show is there.
It just started, so we're going to have 5 episodes to start, but it's not there yet until it's a
Quit
foundation.
pumping my brakes, dude. I already know what you're going to do.
But you asked me 6 months, so this
Right,
is 6
okay,
months.
So 6 months.
A year would be the show is thriving, and now I'm coming out with a show in different verticals. So I have the conscious relationship show, the conscious health and cooking show. I've got the conscious marriage show. I've got the conscious business show. So this is like the conscious environment and I'm picking the talent of friends that I believe in and building out a whole network with multiple studios and sets to just crank out incredible content that is spread like a virus of inspiration and love through Facebook, hopefully, and if not Facebook, then another platform that wants to be a part of this. And that is
What's
the
the
next
name
12
of
months.
What's the name of your network?
I haven't thought
You don't
about
have
it
to
yet.
be married to it.
Yeah, probably Greatness Media right now, something like that. Greatness Media Productions or something. GMP, who knows.
GMP.
Greatness Media Network, something like that. And from there, it's building out multiple high power pieces of brands and content that can be spread into the world.
So then there's a network, and you're not the one that has to create the content all the time.
Yeah, I'm like the visionary, the creative director who's finding the talent, cultivating it, building the ecosystem for them to thrive, creating the formats, working with the network that I'm partnered with to make sure they're getting set up to win, figuring out the distribution, like creating the whole ecosystem for it to work. I think that's the key is like, how do we take this message and keep growing it? For me, that's a whole nother level that I haven't done yet. So it's scary. It's something I get to grow into. But I feel like once I master it once with my show, which I haven't mastered yet, it's just the first season. It's like I've got to really.
Yeah, you haven't
figure out
mastered podcast yet either, but it's
True.
millions and millions of downloads. Hey, guess what? I played 10 years in the NFL, won a Super Bowl, set a whole bunch of Super Bowl records, and
Yeah.
I never mastered that either. And I
Sure.
retired before I mastered it because nobody's ever going to master it. How much of your expectation level of excellence percentage-wise is responsible for? Because if it was 60% relationships, how much of your mindset percentage-wise is responsible for your prosperity, your success, your happiness?
I mean, it's all the way we think. That's how we feel. Our thoughts affect our feelings because every thought can change the way you feel in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So mindset is, relationships are 60% of having access to opportunities.
So you can't even say 60% of your total
The
success
mindset
because
is the
you'd have to
difference.
bring that one down
The
if you're
mindset is
considering mindset.
Yeah, it's not total success, but the mindset is everything because the mindset is what gets you in front of people. It's
Right.
what gets you.
I put you in a bad spot because you only had 40%
It's all
left.
good, yeah. Well, I thought you were gonna
Lewis
say
House said mindset's only 30%
Yeah, no.
of success.
I think the way we think about ourselves and our perspective of other people and our views of the world play a big part of it.
5 years. Where are you at?
Well, I
What are you
want
doing?
to start. I've got a documentary I've been working on, and I want to do more conscious documentaries that help I want my movies to have people to think differently, think about an idea from what they're watching, and think about something. I want them to feel something. I want them to experience it and be like, wow, that made me feel differently as well. And then I want them to act different. Think, feel, and act different from what they're watching. Same thing with the TV shows, same thing with the podcast, same thing with the book, the events, whatever it is. I want people to think about something. Where am I at in my life based on this idea? I want them to feel something, and then I want them to take action and just a little slightly different in their life. Just take action in a different way from what you learned and what you felt, and see if you can apply it in your life. And I think that's what I want to do. It doesn't matter the media platform. It doesn't matter if I'm just walking down the street and saying hi to someone, or if I'm creating a blockbuster film, or if it's a book or a podcast, it doesn't matter what it is. Think, feel, and act differently. That's what I want to create.
It's powerful, man. Because like every thing, every action that you were referring to creating, or every like tangible item that you were talking about and pouring it into, like everything like embodied just leadership. You know what I mean? So it sounds like in 6 months it's leadership, in 12 months it's leadership, in 5 years it's leadership.
Constantly.
If you think about it like that, it's just like, just be a leader, and then you're going to hit all of those things.
Just keep doing the same thing I'm doing.
It's crazy how the universe will freaking bend to people that just decide that they're going to do things.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about like your success or what my success. I'm talking about like success stories in general. Always come from like the most aggressive, like unapologetic, decisive intention. Like when people decide like there's not another option, like I'm going to do this. There's not a plan B. There's not an escape plan. Like this will happen.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that, to me, that's 100% of success and happiness, is like just the intention.
That's it, man.
You know what I mean? I mean, and it's not to say like 40% or 60%. We talked about that. That's out the window. I'm just talking about in life in general. The older and the more wise that I become, and the more mindful people that I'm able to build relationships with and spend time with, it's like intention freaking just like it should, but intention is responsible for everything.
Yeah.
You know, like every single day that you wake up, if your intention is to not enjoy your job, guess what? You're not going to enjoy your job, you know, like, and it's really powerful. Like, and people are listening or thinking about, well, how do I get a good intention? What would you say to them? I know what I would say to them, but what would you say to somebody who's struggling with calibrating their intention? Like, they're not losing right now. What they're doing right now is not working. What can somebody do to fix their intentional problem?
I think vision and perspective help a lot with this. It's getting clear on your vision, what you want, why you want it. And
how do you get clear on your vision?
I think you try things. I think you
I feel
try
like,
things.
Like, how can I know, in my mind, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, how can I know what my goal is and my vision is if I don't know what my intention is?
You figure out what you don't want by trying things in life.
So you think find the goal and the vision first and then set your intention? And I'm not saying you're wrong if that's what you think.
No, I think vision and perspective allows you to create a powerful intention. My intention can be, I'm going to try this and I'm going to give my best effort and have a positive attitude.
Right.
That's an intention. Okay. But my intention for what? A relationship can be, I want to have a thriving relationship. We can set an intention in any moment based on the vision of what we want it to be. So we have to have a vision of what we think we want that experience to be, and then set the intention based on that idea in our mind that hasn't happened yet. My intention is I want to have a great conversation with you. My intention is I want to, whatever. It can be the dream that we want to have around a vision. Perspective is what allows us to follow through on the intention. Perspective, it's I'm sweating right now or something. It's like I could be acting miserable because I'm sweating and it's hot in here, but it's like, no, my perspective is I get to be here sitting with one of my best friends, having a good conversation and impacting people. We can complain or be happy about any moment. I can be happy about this water bottle, or I can say it's not cold enough and complain, or this is giving me life, I'm grateful. So the perspective is key and vision is key.
So it's like perspective, if you change your perspective, and I'm just going to take it a step further, so you implore perspective, but really the reason, and correct me if I'm wrong, you manipulate your perspective to be able to find a reason to have gratitude.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm getting to.
Absolutely.
Like, to me, when I was like, I know what I would say to people, and you're just taking it a step further than what I did. You were saying, okay, first, let's use perspective to find gratitude. And then once you have gratitude and you're just thankful, now let's set our intention.
Sure.
Because it's really like, for me, it's the same thing. Like, I'm sitting in the back of the War Machine. The AC doesn't work in the back yet because we just got this.
You could
But
complain, I spent this much money for this place.
Well, say it this way. I could have delayed the launch of my podcast because I didn't want to ask my friends. Exactly. Like, I'm
perfect.
fighting my perfectionism, kind of thing that I struggle with, that holds me back from doing things and just jumping all in, is I want it to be perfect. And the War Machine's not perfect, but I know that the story that you share and the content that you provide for the people is going to be perfect. And I don't want to make them wait another 2 weeks for my AC unit to get fixed. So this is like, it's a stretch for me to ask you to sit back here, or to ask any of the people that have sat back here until it's perfect. But you know what? Like, I'm only having people on this show that I love and that I care about, and I know they'll suck it up because they know how much this means to me, and they're going to show up for me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I'm thankful for those friends, and so I'm setting my intention to be about the listeners and making sure, the same way that you do on your show, but to make it about the content and what it can do in their life, not to have like a big, beautiful podcast studio, which it's still really freaking cool. It just doesn't have AC, so that would be us magnifying the one thing that's not perfect and robbing people of having to wait another 2 weeks to listen to what you have to share with them. Because I know you've shared things in here that you haven't shared on other shows, and I don't want people to wait, because what you share with them is going to impact their life, which is going to help them manipulate their perspective, to find gratitude, to set an intention, to chase their freaking goals. I love you, man.
Love you too, man. This is fun, man.
This is good. All right, let's go head on back to West Hollywood now. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Down the field, Hollywood!
Let me think about that one.
77 yards! Whoa! Who is this kid?
Mister.